I was 26 when the postcard arrived, bright yellow with a picture of a diner I didn't recognize. No return address, just my name, Gina, my current address, and 6 words scribbled in a handwriting I hadn't seen in 17 years. Don't believe what they told you. At first, I thought it was a joke, a mistake, a weird coincidence, maybe some random old guy with similar handwriting and a twisted sense of humor, but deep down, I knew. Because no one shaped their G's like my dad. Not like that, not with the little flick at the end. It was him. The problem? My dad died when I was 9. Car accident, closed casket. Weeks of silence. My mother never talked about it again. I remember the day it happened clearly. Not because of the grief, but because of the confusion. One minute he was there, tucking me into bed, promising pancakes the next morning. The next? Gone. I wasn't allowed at the funeral. Mom said it would be too much. Said it was better to remember him how he was. There were whispers in the family, incomplete stories. Some people said it was a government cover-up. Others said he was involved in something or with someone. But whenever I asked questions, Mom shut it down with that glazed-over look she got when the past came knocking. Still, I never forgot him, and I definitely never forgot his handwriting. I stared at the postcard for nearly an hour, ran my fingers over the ink. I even flipped it under a lamp like I was some kind of amateur detective. It was dated last week, postmarked from a town I'd never heard of in Montana. I Googled the diner. It was real. A rundown roadside place called Linda's Junction Cafe. I didn't sleep that night. My boyfriend at the time, now very much an ex, said I was spiraling. That this was just some trauma response, a fantasy, but I wasn't imagining things. My dad's name was Joseph Hall. He was 38 when he died, worked in military defense consulting, whatever that meant. He wasn't just a dad, he was the kind of dad who made scavenger hunts around the house, who knew how to braid my hair when Mom was away, who called me Scout like I was on some secret mission with him. And then, he was gone. I brought the postcard to my mom the next morning. She went pale before I even sat down. "Where did you get that?" she asked, voice low and tight. "It came yesterday." She stared at it like it was a live grenade. Didn't touch it, didn't even blink for a full 10 seconds. Then she said, "That's not from him. It's his handwriting." "No, it's not," she replied. "Mom." "He's dead," she stated. I waited. Waited for the crack, the admission, the wobble in her voice that would give her away. But it didn't come. Instead, she stood up, poured herself a drink, at 10 in the morning. That's when I knew. He wasn't dead. Or at least, she wasn't sure he was. Later that day, I went through the attic. Old boxes, mementos, the stuff of half-forgotten lives. Buried at the bottom of a crate labeled books, I found something strange. An old photograph, faded and bent, but not of us. It was a photo of a man who looked just like my dad, standing next to a different woman and a little boy. The woman had dark hair, the boy looked about 6, and the date written on the back? 7 years after he supposedly died. That's when I stopped wondering if the postcard was real. It was, and whoever sent it wanted me to start asking questions. I called the diner. The line rang 6 times before someone picked up. "Linda's," a woman croaked. "We're short-staffed. Make it quick." I asked if anyone had been in recently asking about me. She said no, but when I described the man from the photo, late 50s, graying, soft-spoken, bought a postcard, she got quiet, then said, "He was here a week ago. Sat at the corner booth. He ordered breakfast but didn't eat anything, just wrote a postcard." My heart stopped. Did he say anything? Just one thing before he left. He said, "If she comes, tell her to follow the numbers." "The numbers?" She sighed. "I don't know, honey. He was sweet but strange. Paid in cash, left a tip bigger than the bill. And the smell on him, like engine oil and smoke." I hung up with my hands shaking. That night I took out the postcard again, held it up to the light. Nothing. Then I flipped it over, and in the bottom corner, barely visible unless you tilted it just right, was a faint imprint. 3 numbers, 14, 9, 17. A date? A code? I didn't know, but I was going to find out. Because if my dad was alive, I needed to know why he left, why he let us mourn him, why he disappeared from one family, and maybe started another. And if I was being honest, I needed to know if he was still the man I remembered, or if he was someone else entirely. The numbers wouldn't leave me alone. I stared at them until they stopped looking like a date and started looking like a warning. I ran them through every interpretation I could think of. September 14th, 2017, a locker combination, coordinates, a Bible verse. But there was one thing I knew. My dad hadn't scribbled them by accident. He wanted me to find them, and if he was still out there, still alive, he wanted me to follow. I called out sick from work the next morning. I didn't have a plan, just the zip code from the postcard's postmark and a fire in my chest that wouldn't go out. By 10 a.m., I had a one-way ticket to Montana, a rental car reservation, and a vague itinerary built around the only clue I had, Linda's Junction Cafe. It was a 6-hour drive from the nearest airport. No highways, just dusty roads and empty landscapes, the kind of place you disappear into. Which I guess made sense. The diner looked exactly like the postcard, pale yellow siding, rusted metal sign, and a single flickering neon light that just read, "Open." It didn't look like much had changed in 30 years. The booths were vinyl, the coffee came in thick ceramic mugs, and the waitress, Linda, I assumed, eyed me with the kind of tired suspicion you develop after years of serving truckers and people on the run. I took the same booth she'd mentioned on the phone, the one in the corner, the one where my dad had sat. I ordered coffee and toast, but I didn't touch either. I was too busy scanning everything, the walls, the window, the seat, even the napkin holder. If he left something, it wasn't obvious. Linda walked over with the check before I'd even asked for it. She didn't say anything, just placed it on the table, her fingers lingering for a second too long. When she walked away, I opened it. Inside the folded check slip was a tiny square piece of notebook paper. Ask about the cabin. No signature, no explanation, just a feeling, like the walls had shifted again and I was one step deeper into something I didn't understand. I caught her before she made it back behind the counter. "The cabin?" I asked. She froze, then turned around slowly and said, "He told me you'd ask. Who is he?" But she didn't answer that. Instead, she reached below the counter and pulled out an envelope. It was thick, sealed with red wax, like something from a spy movie. My name was written on the front in the same handwriting. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. It showed a small log cabin set back in the woods. There was no address, just a hand-drawn map on the back with a few sketched turns and one note, "Trust no one, not even her." That was it. I looked up. "Who's her?" Linda just shook her head. "He said you'd know." But I didn't. Not yet. I left the diner with the photo and the map. My GPS couldn't help. There were no real coordinates, just scribbled directions. Left at the rusted silo, veer right after the creek, watch for the tree with the red X. It was cryptic, paranoid. Very him. The road turned to gravel, then to dirt, then to something that couldn't even be called a road anymore. I drove for nearly 2 hours, and just when I thought I'd made a mistake, there it was, the cabin. Exactly like the photo, old but not abandoned. There was no car, no mailbox, no signs of life, but also no signs of decay. The porch was swept, the windows intact, the kind of place someone stayed in occasionally. Quietly. I parked the car and got out, heart thundering. Every step felt like a countdown. The door was unlocked. Inside, it smelled like dust and cedar, a fireplace, old leather, and something else, something almost sterile, like antiseptic. There were no photos, no clothes, no personal items, but there was a desk, locked, and taped underneath it, a cassette recorder, an old-school analog cassette recorder with a single tape already inside. The label read, "Scout, play me alone." I pressed play. The tape hissed, then crackled. Then a voice, his voice, flooded the room. "Hey, kiddo, if you're hearing this, it means I ran out of time." I froze. Tears welled up instantly. His voice was older, scratchier, but it was him. I would know that voice anywhere. "I wish I could see you. I wish I could explain everything in person, but this is the only way I could keep you safe." He paused, a deep breath. "You're not crazy. I'm not dead, but I had to disappear. Not for me, for you, for your mom. There were things happening back then, things I thought I could protect you from. I was wrong." Another pause. "The truth is, I was involved in something I thought was righteous. But it got twisted. It became something else. And when I tried to walk away, they made me vanish. I wasn't supposed to leave anything behind." Static buzzed for a second before the next part. "But I couldn't let you go. So I watched, from a distance, kept tabs. You were always smart, always strong. And now, if you're here, that means you're ready." I clutched the recorder so tight my knuckles turned white. "There's more to your story than you know. Things your mom never told you, things she couldn't. And there are people who will do anything to keep those secrets buried." He exhaled again. "I'm sorry, baby girl, but you're going to have to find the rest yourself. Follow the map, trust your gut. And whatever you do," his voice cracked, "don't trust her." The tape clicked off. Silence. I stood there, in the middle of a strange cabin, clutching a cassette recorder like it was a lifeline to a ghost. My throat burned, my head buzzed, and my thoughts turned to the one person he mentioned over and over. Her, my mother. What wasn't she telling me? And what the heck had she and my father been running from all those years? I didn't leave the cabin that night, not because I wanted to stay, but because I was afraid of what might be waiting outside. His voice on that cassette had cracked something open in me. My sense of reality was slipping. First the postcard, then the map, now this. I sat in the center of the cabin floor, the tape recorder still in my hands, listening again, and again, and again. Each time it hit a little harder. He'd been watching me. He knew something I didn't, and he wanted me to keep going. When the sun finally started bleeding through the windows, I forced myself to stand. There had to be more. The way he said, "Follow the map," wasn't about the napkin sketch Linda had passed along. It was something else. I started searching. The cabin wasn't large. One room, a small kitchen, a worn mattress in the corner with no sheets. But the structure was solid. Hand-built, thick timber walls, reinforced corners. It didn't creak like an old building. It felt fortified. That alone was suspicious. I ran my fingers along the edges of the walls, checking for hidden compartments. Nothing. Just cans of food and a single chipped mug. But the floorboards, those were interesting. A few creaked. One didn't. Near the fireplace there was a board that sat just a little lower than the others. If you weren't looking for it, you'd never notice. But once I pressed down, I heard it. Click. I dropped to my knees, heart pounding. The board came up cleanly, revealing a small square compartment lined with waxed paper and a tightly rolled scroll inside, brown from age and secured with string. I lifted it out slowly, hands shaking. It was a map, not of the town, not even of Montana. This was something else. Topographical markings, red lines, grid coordinates, strange handwritten notes like Redbird Protocol, active until 2017, no direct access via roads, airdrop only. Tunnel system confirmed, possible entry, Sector 3C, and in the bottom corner, in small, nearly illegible script, trust no one, especially her. Again, that same phrase. I folded the map and tucked it into my backpack. I didn't have cell service out here, but I still turned on my phone and checked for offline GPS, just to get a vague sense of where I was. I couldn't tell much, but based on the mountain ranges and contour lines, the map pointed farther north. Deep woods, no towns for miles. I packed the recorder, the map, and the Polaroid. Before I left, I gave the cabin one last sweep, and that's when I noticed something else. Behind the mattress, carved into the wooden wall, B+A, 1999, my initials, and his. I touched it gently. A part of me wanted to cry, but I was too numb for that. Instead, I just took a photo and went to sleep. I left the next morning and drove for an hour before I reached any semblance of civilization. A gas station with a single working pump and a guy behind the counter who looked like he hadn't seen a stranger in a month. "Heading up north?" he asked, nodding toward the map sticking out of my bag. I hesitated. "Maybe." "Careful," he said. "Woods out that way aren't friendly. People get turned around, get lost." I didn't respond, because that's exactly what I planned not to do. I spread the map out over the passenger's seat and traced the lines with a highlighter. I didn't understand half the markings, but I did recognize one. A set of grid coordinates near a ridge called Black Hollow. It was the only label circled in red. A quick search showed nothing useful. No hiking trails, no campgrounds, just private forest land. I'd need to hike in, but before I did, I needed answers. About my mom. She sounded surprised when I called. "Wow, 2 calls in 1 week. That's got to be a record," she joked. I forced a laugh. "Yeah, well, I've been thinking about Dad a lot lately." Silence. "You okay?" she asked. "Yeah, just wondering about that last trip he took. You know, before everything." Long pause. "Oh, which trip?" "The work trip. The one where he was gone for 3 weeks and came back with that limp." Another pause. I hadn't planned this question. It just slipped out. But it landed. Hard. "Right," she said slowly. "That was Denver, I think. Some government contracting thing. He wasn't in the government, but he did some side work now and then." There it was. A lie. I could hear it in her tone. See it in the way she filled the silence with vague phrases and carefully chosen words. She was hiding something. "You know the postcard," I said bluntly. "From him." Dead silence. "It's dated last month, postmarked from Montana." She said nothing. "I also found a tape recorder," I continued, "with a message from him." "Where did you get that?" "The place he told me to go. The cabin." Long breath, sharp inhale. "He's dead," she finally said, voice shaking. "No, Mom, he's not. And I think you know that." She hung up the phone. Not 5 minutes later, she sent a text. "Whatever he sent you, whatever he said, it's part of the sickness. He wasn't well, you know that." "No," I typed back. "What I know is that I've been lied to for 17 years. "You need to stop," she wrote. "You don't know what you're getting into." She continued. "You remember the man who came to the house that night? After the funeral?" I replied yes. He was tall, had a military haircut, sharp jaw with cold eyes. He'd said he was an old friend and handed Mom a manila envelope. I hadn't thought about it since. Mom continued. "He was there to make sure you never went looking," she said. "We made a deal. I was supposed to keep you away from all this. You weren't supposed to find the cabin." "But I did." "Yes, and now you need to be very careful. They'll know. As soon as you start pulling at threads, they'll come looking." "Who's they?" I asked. She stopped responding. Just like that. Silence. I sat there for a long time, staring at the map. Whatever my dad was involved in, it didn't die with him. It didn't die at all. And if the coordinates were right, Black Hollow was the next thread. I just hoped I was ready to pull it. I found a cheap motel to stay in for the night and left before sunrise. Didn't tell anyone where I was going. Just packed up my bag, stuffed the map into a weatherproof sleeve, and pointed my car north toward the red-circled coordinates labeled Black Hollow. The air grew colder as the roads narrowed. First asphalt, then gravel, then nothing but dirt and pine needles. By the time I reached the turnoff on the map, I had no signal, no GPS, and no idea what I'd find. There was no gate. Not even a no trespassing sign, just an overgrown path where trees arched over each other like a tunnel. This wasn't a hiking trail, it was a boundary line. I parked the car beneath a ridge and started walking, every footstep crunching beneath me like a warning. The map said it was about 2 miles in, but 2 miles on paper means nothing in woods like that. The terrain was steep, roots gnarled like fingers. I slipped twice, once bad enough to scrape my palm open on a rock. Still, I kept going. Because Black Hollow wasn't just a place anymore, it was a question, and I was done living without answers. Half an hour in, I found the first marker. A black tree, literally black, charred, maybe from a lightning strike but not burnt all the way through. Just scorched on the outside, the bark peeling like old paint. Carved into the base was a symbol, a circle with 3 slashes across it. I didn't recognize it. But someone had come out here, someone before me, and they'd left a trail. I checked the map again. The next landmark, Elevator Rock. Whatever that meant. 10 more minutes and I found it. A boulder the size of a car, tilted at such an unnatural angle it looked like it had been dropped from the sky. Wedged against a ravine, with enough space underneath for a person to crawl through, if they weren't claustrophobic or particularly fond of surviving. I stared at the dark space beneath it, heart racing, and then I crawled in. It was tighter than I thought. Dirt in my mouth, knees scraping stone. My backpack barely fit. For a few terrifying seconds, I got stuck, and then I popped through to the other side. And froze, because there, standing in the clearing, was a building. Not a cabin, not a shack. A bunker. It rose out of the earth like a secret long buried, steel walls camouflaged with moss and earth, and a heavy door set into concrete. The number 44B stenciled above it in faded paint. There were no windows, only a keypad. I stared at it, stunned. My dad hadn't just left a trail. He'd left a vault. And now I was standing at the door. I approached slowly, expecting alarms, sensors, something, but nothing happened. The forest stayed quiet. No drones, no hums, just the sound of wind through branches and my own heartbeat pounding in my ears. I reached for the keypad. It blinked red. Enter access code. Of course, I pulled the map back out, scanning the margins for numbers. There were a few scribbles. 1911, 3-4-7, Delta Echo Bravo. Military shorthand? Coordinates? I tried them all. Nothing. Then I remembered something stupid, something sentimental. My dad's favorite number. 14,322. He used it for everything. Football jerseys, lottery tickets, even email passwords when I was a kid. He said it was the age he met my mom, said it was when his life finally started. I punched in 14322. The keypad blinked. Access granted. My knees buckled. The door hissed, slow and mechanical, as it slid open into the earth. Cold air poured out, stale and metallic. I stepped inside, breath catching in my throat. It was pitch black. I fumbled for my phone light and found a switch on the wall. When I flipped it, a row of fluorescent lights buzzed to life, revealing a long hallway lined with metal doors, each one labeled with numbers, tags, and strange abbreviations I didn't recognize. The place wasn't abandoned, it was preserved and waiting. The first room I opened was a lab. Not the movie kind with glowing beakers and science fiction tubes, but a sterile clinical space with charts, specimen containers, and rows of labeled drawers. One wall had photos pinned to a board, black and white surveillance shots of people walking, entering buildings, holding hands. None of the faces looked familiar. Until one. My mother. In the corner of the board was a photo of her pushing a stroller down a city street. Another showed her at a payphone, glancing over her shoulder. Both were labeled Subject Beta, Location, River Site, Status, Inactive. My blood ran cold. This wasn't just about my dad. They were watching her, and probably me too. I moved quickly, scanning shelves and drawers until I found a binder labeled Reintegration Files, 2006 to 2008. Inside, memos, transcripts, and a familiar name, Benjamin Lasker, my father. The file detailed his transfer from Project Sentinel to something called Redbird Contingency, along with psychological evaluations marked unstable but high-functioning, retained for operations under blackout protocol. One sentence stood out. Should he breach quarantine, all assets must be contained immediately, family included. I sat down on the floor. This was bigger than him faking his death. This was a cold, calculated, vanishing act. And now I was inside the walls of something that wasn't supposed to exist. I checked the next room. More files, more surveillance, and a corkboard with one word in big block letters across the top: Legacy. Below it, photographs of a little girl with long hair. Me. I stared at it, unable to breathe. What did this all mean? I didn't have time to find out, because somewhere far down the hallway I heard something. A door, opening. My body went rigid. I turned off the lights, killed my phone flashlight, pressed myself against the wall and held my breath. Footsteps, slow, measured, coming toward me. I slipped into one of the rooms and shut the door, locking it quietly behind me. Heart pounding, I crouched beneath a table and waited. The footsteps passed by. A pause. Then a voice. "Shelby? You here?" The voice wasn't angry, wasn't aggressive, wasn't my dad, but it knew my name. I stayed silent. More footsteps. Then, nothing. I waited 5 full minutes before I moved again. When I cracked the door, the hallway was empty. But someone had been there. Someone who expected me. Someone who might be coming back. I had to go. I grabbed what I could, files, photos, a small hard drive from a workstation, and ran. Back through the hallway, back through the forest, all the way to the car. It was nightfall when I finally made it to the motel. I locked the door, blocked the window, sat on the bed and opened the files again, and at the very bottom of the stack I found one last photo. A Polaroid. Me and my dad. I was maybe 7, missing teeth, holding a sparkler. He had one arm around me, the other hand making bunny ears behind my head. On the back, in his handwriting, "You were never supposed to know, but now that you do, finish what I couldn't." And beneath that, just 3 more words: "Trust no one." I didn't sleep. I couldn't. I sat in that motel room with the hard drive beside me, the stolen files spread out across the bed, and the Polaroid of me and my father clutched in one hand like a lifeline. Finish what I couldn't. The words played on a loop in my head, burning through my rational thoughts like acid, because the truth was, I didn't know what he was asking, or why I had a classified surveillance file under my name. By sunrise, I'd decided 2 things. 1, I needed to get the hard drive decrypted. 2, I couldn't go back home. Not yet. Whoever was in that bunker last night knew my name. That wasn't random. That wasn't chance. I'd tripped something, opened a door that wasn't supposed to open. And now, whatever game my father had started, they expected me to play it. So I drove. Not home, not even to a friend's place. I drove south, sticking to side roads, avoiding cameras and major intersections, until I reached a city big enough to disappear into. It took hours. I stopped only once, for coffee and a new phone. I used it to call John. John and I went to high school together, lost touch, then found each other again through a coding forum years later. Now he worked in cybersecurity for corporates, but used to work as a government contractor, and in his spare time, he broke things for fun: encryptions, firewalls, even GPS locks on stolen tech. He picked up on the 3rd ring. "Holy crap," he said. "You're alive!" "What?" "You dropped off the planet." "Long story. I need a favor." There was a pause. Is this a delete my browser history kind of favor, or a help me hack into a blacksite kind of favor? Closer to the second one. "Where are you?" "I'll text you an address." John met me at a co-working space he used under a fake name. We used a VPN, switched machines twice, and worked out of a soundproof podcast booth at the back. I handed him the drive. "Where did you get this?" he asked. "Does it matter?" He gave me a look. "Yes, because if this thing is tagged, we've got maybe 10 minutes before someone's kicking in the door." "It's not." He plugged it in and began typing. The screen flashed, then flashed again. "What the?" he muttered. He leaned closer. "This thing's military encrypted, not just passcode level. We're talking recursive shell layering with quantum hash cloaking. You don't break this. You let it decay and pray it opens itself in 20 years. He sat back. "I'm good, but not this good." I reached into my bag and pulled out the files, the ones from the bunker. He flipped through them, pausing at the photo of me labeled "Subject Unknown." "Okay," he said slowly. "Now I need the story." So I told him. Everything I knew, which wasn't much, from the postcard to the hidden map, to the door in the woods, and the voice in the bunker that said my name. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, he leaned forward, elbows on knees. "I think your dad was trying to expose something." "Expose what?" He tapped the folder labeled Project Redbird. "This isn't just surveillance. These files, these operations, they're testing behavioral implant conditioning. It's not clinical. It's targeted, like they're trying to groom subjects, shape them into something specific." I felt cold. "Like soldiers?" I asked. "Or something worse," he quickly replied. I stared at the screen. "What does that mean?" I questioned. He looked at me, then back at the file. "I think it means we get in." I couldn't speak. I felt my stomach roll, my heart pound. And then, suddenly, the screen went black. What happened? "That's not me. Someone just remotely nuked the system." He ripped out the hard drive and shoved it into a lead-lined pouch. "We need to move." As we left, I noticed something on the security feed near the front lobby. A man, standing still in the middle of the co-working space, red baseball cap, aviator sunglasses, a newspaper tucked under one arm. I paused. Something about him? He looked up at the camera, directly, and smiled. We ran, through the alley, into John's pickup truck parked 2 blocks over. As he pulled away, I turned to him. "I've seen that man before." "Where?" "With my mom at the park a few months after my dad supposedly died." He was next to her. Same building, same red hat, same smile. John swore again and floored it. We drove to another city, another burner motel. We didn't talk much. When we got to the room, John double-checked the pouch and then destroyed the laptop he'd used just in case. "What now?" he asked. "I think we find out who the man in the red hat is," I said. "I think he's been following my family for a long time." "And if he's watching you now?" I turned slowly toward the window. "Then maybe it's time I stop running." I didn't sleep much that night. Either did John. I felt badly about getting him into my mess of a life, but he said it was what he lived for, and part of me believed him knowing about some of the things he had done. After a while, I tried to close my eyes, but every time I did, I saw the man in the red hat, watching, smiling, waiting. Not like a hitman, no, something worse, patient, like a shepherd watching sheep he knows will eventually come home. Eventually, John passed out with his laptop open, his phone in one hand, a taser in the other. I sat on the floor with the files scattered around me again, trying to make sense of them. So many of the documents were incomplete, pages blacked out, names redacted, timestamps missing. But the pieces that weren't censored were worse. Emotion-triggered testing, early exposure to chaos, measured detachment from maternal figures, surveillance logs dating back to 1999. There was one name that kept popping up, Dr. A. Green, initials, AG, position, lead behaviorist, Redbird program, Site 6. When I searched for her online, there was nothing, not one result. No LinkedIn, no papers published, not even a random alumni record. It was like she never existed. Or more likely, removed. But Site 6? That turned up one result. A military base decommissioned in 2002 just outside of Fayetteville, North Carolina. Deemed unstable due to internal fire. Structure condemned. Property under private security lease. I sat back. My dad was stationed in Fayetteville once, and he drove me by that base all the time when I was little. He used to say it was a dead zone, nothing there but ghosts and locked doors. Now I was starting to think he meant that literally. By 7 a.m., John was awake again, bleary-eyed and pissed that I hadn't slept. "You're running on caffeine and paranoia," he muttered. "That's a combo that ends in conspiracy forums and bunkers full of canned beans." "We found a blacksite in the woods," I said, "and a guy in a red hat who doesn't blink." "I think we're way past paranoia." He didn't argue. Instead, he pulled up a map and cross-referenced old utility data for the Fayetteville area. "Here," he said. "There's still power draws coming from this zone, way too consistent for a condemned site. Someone's keeping something online." "Do you think it's Site 6? "Only one way to find out." I hesitated. If we go in. John cut me off. I know. We might not come out. We packed our things. We arrived outside the perimeter around 2 p.m. The chain-link fence had been overgrown with vines and weeds, but there were still cameras, still pressure sensors, still power. This is not abandoned, John said flatly. I found a breach near the south side, an old storm drain that looked recently disturbed. Someone had been using it. We crawled in with flashlights, emerging into what looked like a long-forgotten maintenance hallway. The place smelled like rust and antiseptic, concrete walls with flaking paint, cracked tile floors. The hum of something mechanical echoed in the distance. We passed signs that read, Red Bird, Authorized Personnel Only, Observation Wing, C Block, Emotional Containment Chamber, 3rd Corridor. What the heck was emotional containment? John scanned the walls with a portable EMF reader. It spiked every time we neared a labeled door. Still active, he whispered. There's power, and something's broadcasting. The hallway ended at a blast door. Card reader, biometric lock, all dead. But just next to it, mounted in a plastic frame, was a fire axe. I looked at John. He shrugged. I smashed the reader. Sparks flew, the door clicked, and opened. Inside was a control room, outdated equipment, flickering monitors, an old swivel chair that groaned under John's weight as he slid into it. This is it, he said, eyes wide. This is the central feed. I looked around. Dust coated everything, except the keyboard. That was clean. Recently used. John flipped through the camera feeds, one by one. As each image came in, we saw a white-walled chamber with a single chair bolted to the floor. A hallway lined with padded rooms. An observation deck with two-way glass facing a playroom. I froze, because in the playroom there were drawings taped to the walls, and one of them was one of mine. A stick figure girl with black hair and a Band-Aid on her knee. Above her head it said, Shelby. I grabbed the image. John got to work, trying to pull the files. All of them. Every log he could find. And I wandered through the adjacent corridor. That's when I saw it. A large steel door marked Stage 3, Viability Testing, Authorized Personnel Only, Dr. A. Green. It wasn't locked. Inside was a small room, a bed, a dresser, child-sized furniture. Everything was pristine, dust-free, like it had been cleaned yesterday. On the bed was a book. I picked it up. It was a diary. The handwriting was childlike but deliberate. Entry 1. My name is Shelby. They say I'm special, but I don't feel special. I miss her. I miss juice boxes and cartoons and the way she used to sing at night. My breath caught. Was this mine? I turned the page. Entry 2. They said I need to be careful when I feel too much. But how do you not feel? John called from the hallway. I found something. You need to see this. Back in the control room, he pulled up a feed. Not from now, from then. Dated 2001. Security cam footage. It showed a girl, small, messy hair, sitting in the same playroom, drawing on the wall. She turned toward the camera at one point and smiled. It was me. That was me. I had been here, and I had no memory of it. John clicked again. Another feed, another room. A man was with me. Dark hair. He was drawing too. It was my dad. Why were we here? I whispered. John pointed to the logs. Relocated. Could mean anything. Then something shifted on one of the live camera feeds. The man in the red hat walked into frame. He was here, now watching us, smiling. I didn't scream when I saw him on the screen. I couldn't. I was frozen, like my body knew something my brain hadn't caught up to yet. John lunged for the keyboard, flipping through feeds, trying to trace the hallway. He's heading this way. We need to go, I whispered. Now. But before either of us could move, the door creaked open. And there he was, the man in the red hat. Up close, he looked older than I remembered. Not the polished shadow I'd seen watching us, but worn. Deep lines around his eyes, gray creeping through his beard, and under the brim of the red cap, eyes I somehow knew. He didn't come in with a weapon. He didn't threaten us. He just raised his hands slowly and said, "Do you remember me? I'm your father." John moved in front of me instinctively. "Bull," he growled. "Her dad died 12 years ago." The man gave a sad, tired smile. That's what I wanted the world to believe. My mouth was dry. I wanted to argue, to scream at him, to demand proof. But deep inside, something cracked. A dam. A silence I didn't know I'd been carrying. "Why?" I managed. "Why let me think you were dead?" He stepped inside, slowly. "Because if I didn't, you would be." John didn't lower his guard, but I motioned him to step back. I needed answers, and I needed them from him. The man nodded once, like he understood what this moment meant. He pulled an old metal chair from the corner and sat. His voice was rough but honest. No theatrics, just truth. "You were barely a year old when I found you," he said. "You were living in a place called St. Mercy's, an orphanage on paper. But it wasn't that. Not really. It was a market." I didn't blink. He continued. "Babies came in. Babies went out. None of it legal. Most weren't even orphans. They were taken. From hospitals, from war zones, from desperate families who thought someone was helping them." I shook my head. "No, I'm not adopted." "You are. But your mom and I agreed. Because we were overseas at the time, and no one in our families had seen us for months. We would forge your birth certificate to make it look legit, and came home with you as our own. You were the biggest surprise ever." He reached into his coat and pulled out a folded photo, an old Polaroid, me, just days old, in a dirty crib with a hospital bracelet still around my ankle. "This was you, before we renamed you, before we took you." I stared at it. That bracelet had a different name, one I didn't recognize. He kept going. "I was working private military at the time, security detail. My squad was assigned to raid a trafficking pipeline. That's where we found St. Mercy's. The upper floors were clean, had paperwork, toys, cribs. But downstairs? There were files, catalogs, listings of every kid, with prices." John muttered a curse under his breath. "I wasn't supposed to take you. That wasn't the mission. But when I saw your file, I saw who you were being sold to." He stopped, eyes wet now. "I couldn't leave you." I swallowed hard. "So, you just took me?" He nodded. "And disappeared." "But why fake your death so many years later? Why disappear from my life?" "Because they came looking." He shifted, uneasy now. "They didn't know at first who took you. I went off-grid, new identity, raised you until you were old enough to go to school. That's when the problems started again. You were now in the system and somehow they found us." I sat down. My knees couldn't hold me anymore. He continued. "I made a deal with them, with the people who owned the orphanage, those who were left after we raided it. I said I'd work for them, steal what they needed, weapons, technology access codes, but only if they let you go." I looked at him, horrified. "You helped them?" "To protect you," he snapped, then softened. "I became their errand boy, for years, until I tried to cut loose. That's when they came after me again. I vanished for good, faked the crash, the death, everything." My head was spinning. "What does this have to do with Dr. Green?" His face hardened. "She works for them." Silence. He leaned forward. "She was the one running St. Mercy's medical intake. She processed the stolen infants, ran evaluations on them to see which ones were valuable, which ones were viable for resale." My stomach turned. He continued. "After the raid, she vanished. But I always knew she'd come back for you. You were the last kid who slipped through her fingers, the only child unaccounted for in their system." My voice cracked. "So she's been looking for me?" "She's more than looking," he said. "She's got orders to eliminate you." John stepped forward. "Then why the heck are we here?" "Because this is a place I knew she'd come to complete her mission," he said. "Redbird was one of her safe houses." He looked back at me, really looked, then pointed to the feed on the screen. It was a woman. My dad had led me here so she would follow. I've always been watching over you, and a few months ago she showed up, that's why I brought you here. I looked at him. And what now? Now you leave. You forget this place, change your name, and go live the life I tried to give you years ago. What about you? I'll clean up the mess. John shook his head. This is insane. My dad, if I could even call him that, stood up. He walked over and placed a hand on my shoulder. It was rough, calloused, but warm. I didn't save you just to lose you now. I blinked back tears. There was still so much I didn't know, so many lies to unravel. But in that moment, there was only one truth I could feel. He loved me, enough to lie, enough to vanish, enough to come back. I nodded. I'll go, I said, but I'm not changing my name again. I want to live as me, the real me. He hesitated, then smiled. Then you'd better run fast. John and I left quickly, through the storm drain, into the dark, and didn't look back. John drove while I stared out the window, holding the old photo in my hand like a passport. I didn't know what came next, but I knew who I was, and I knew they wouldn't get to erase me. Not now, not ever. Thanks. To my dad.